So the FAFSA Completion Initiative is a tool to help counselors fulfill the mandate. It was been a tool from before then, but after 2024-25, the new mandate has designated that students, high school seniors, must complete the FAFSA or the DREAM Act for those students that are not eligible for the FAFSA, or complete a waiver indicating that the parents or guardians or the student themselves understand what the FAFSA and or DREAM Act can offer to the student as far as financial aid, and that they've chosen not to file those applications. There's a few there's a few other requirements here. A couple of big ones are that the school districts must notify each high school senior of state-sponsored scholarships, financial aid, assistance, and be available 2 times a year. So, this is kind of where FAFSA really came from. We recognize that some of you in your school districts have, tens of thousands of kids, and there's a lot of seniors out there. We do recognize the work that you guys are doing day in and day out. I actually met one of your students 2 weeks ago. He's a senior at SUNY Cortland right now. He mentioned a program that you guys have at Syracuse that allow him to visit college campuses as a middle schooler, and now he's at one of the campuses he visited as a middle schooler. Like that is what you guys are doing day to day on the ground, uh, and now having to also notify seniors of these state-sponsored scholarships. We recognize that you guys can't do it alone, so we want to give you assistance in that. The other mandate is that school districts must notify and provide referrals for support or assistance to complete the FAFSA. This is once again a big undertaking for some students who need a little bit more assistance with the completion of the FAFSA and or TAP application. So we want to support you in that too. This is why we have FAFSA ready trainings on this, but it's also why we have our events where we monthly help students with the FAFSA and TAP applications in their entirety. And then another part of the mandate was to annually report the data for all seniors by July 1st. Now, while we don't do any of that work here at HESC, we do have, the information with SAD to allow you to do that. So reporting was made available, and the survey is available here. And then if there's any questions with that, it does go through SAD because we don't do any of that reporting at HESC. Our main focus with the FAFSA Completion Initiative and with the FAFSA mandate is to help support counselors across the state in notifying students of state-sponsored scholarships and being a place that they can refer students to for assistance. Now, the FAFSA Completion Initiative is a database that houses student information for each school district. To get access to this Completion Initiative data, you have to go through this process. First, getting a data access to security agreement, then designating a chief authorizing official, and then working through the different levels of access while you establish user accounts. So what we'll do today is, my apologies. What we'll do today is, okay, great, James. All right, perfect. So this will kind of set you up, right? If you're in the process of trying to figure out, all right, do we have a data access security agreement? I believe you're probably working with, and I may have been on that email chain with these people here, right? They will help you kind of designate, figure out your data access security agreement and who your chief authorizing official is. So I'll kind of show you how that setup works, but then after that, I'll show you once you get that chief authorizing official, what do they do? How do they get all your counselors into the database? And then how do you run reports? And we'll do that live in our test database today so you can kind of see it as it should happen once you have access. So the data access security agreement is a simple agreement that pretty much says we will provide you access to certain financial aid information. Really, it's going to be FAFSA and TAP completion status. And then in exchange for that, we just ask that you give your best efforts to assist the students in completing the FAFSA form and TAP application. That's different for everybody. Some people may have the ability to sit down with a student and complete the FAFSA. Some may not. Some may have kids that are in that, high school or early college range, and they may have done this a couple of times with their own kids and have that knowledge. Some of you do not. So everybody's best effort will be different in this process. There are different agreements based on the school type. at your school, obviously as a public school system, will need to have the agreement signed by the district superintendent. So once we get these forms back, we will help you designate your chief authorizing official. Now, this level of access is your topmost account access manager. They will manage the accounts for either each individual high school if you have multiple, or for one high school if you only have one high school in your area. But it maintains all the account profiles. It is the one that this is the level of access that will allow you to add users to your high school, remove users from your high school, and designate who can get access to this information. So a mailer like this, you may have a chief authorizing official from the school district office that has designated people at high school A and high school B and create accounts for report only users as well. Or they may be in a single high school and be able to designate people in that high school to view or create accounts for other counselors. Now, for this role, you can definitely have more than one, and I always suggest having more than one. A lot of things happen. Kids are out, medical situations, surgeries, retirements. There's a lot of different things that happen. Even now, the FAFSA Completion Initiative tool has been around for quite some time. But now that people are trying to use it, they're like, oh, I don't know who this person is. Are they still here? Do they know who they are? All right. So it's always nice to have more than one so that in the case of retirement, you have to go through the process of designating a chief authorizing official. There is no specific title or individual. So it does not have to be a counselor. It can be an office administrator. It can be a school superintendent. It can be anybody who you feel can fulfill the role and is tech savvy enough to navigate the database and add users as needed. Okay, so just consider the ability. When we get that form, we're going to create an account for the person that you guys have designated. That person must activate their account within 24 hours. To do that, then go through this simple process. I know there's a couple more people that just came in, so I'm going to drop the presentation link in the chat. So when this happens, and actually, let's go through the live database. We'll do this together at the live database. All right, so here we're going to our HES web database. I'll show you kind of how to get there a little bit later on. But this is our test site database. When you log in, you'll have your own username and password. And you'll hit login. Once you do that, you'll see 3 tabs up top: FAFSA completion, general functions, and transactions. For you guys, you're going to live really in the FAFSA completion tab if you're a report-only user, or the general functions tab if you're a chief authorizing official or an authorizing official. So to add people, right, or to finish an application, you'll do it here. All right. So this is where the chief authorizing official will go to set up their account. Now, since my account is already set up, we'll do it through the PowerPoint, and then we'll come back and do it as we add users to this account. So to set password, you'll put your username in and your new password. Okay. If you have problems, feel free to reach out to our team. But it must be 8 characters exactly, right? And it has to be changed about every 90 days or so. Okay. So this is what you'll get is this form to say, do you accept the terms and conditions, right? And really, we're only using this data for financial aid purposes, right? That is all. So they must accept these terms and then add information, much like, a bank account or something like that. The last 4 of your social, date of birth, right? Your middle name, and then some security questions like you have for Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or X, right? There's these questions that you have to answer them to reset your password. And then your city, state, and zip code, and your address there. So this is the basic registration information. Once you've done all that, you're gonna hit submit, and then your registration will be successful. Your chief authorizing official is ready to go, right? So a lot of the designation paperwork will help us gather the information that we need for the chief authorizing official, and then they'll have to just finish setting up their account here. Now, the other 2 levels of access are first authorizing officials. So they're not as high as the chief authorizing official, they're the next level down. They can they can add report-only users, but they cannot add another chief authorizing official or another authorizing official, right? So they can only add additional report-only users. So this may be if you have multiple high schools and yes, you have a chief authorizing official that can do it, but there may be a person in each high school that they want to also have access if in a pinch need to add a report-only user to their roster, okay? So they can designate that. You may have more than one, right? Once again, I always suggest having more than one of these account managing style officials and access because you never know what could happen, right? No specific title. If you're a really involved physical education coach, put them in there. If you have a really involved teacher, allow them to have access so they can help students if they can. And then the report only users. These can only manage their own accounts and they can only manage and access reports, right? So for all these students, they can only, or for all these roles, they can only access the high schools that they're designated for, right? So just because you have access to Syracuse doesn't mean you'll have access to Utica or Albany. You only have the access to the schools that you've been designated, okay? And there's no limit to the number of report only users. If you want 100, I know you don't have 100 counselors, but if you want 100, you can have it. If you want to have 50 people, you can go for it, right? There's no number limit to how many report only users you can have at your school or school district. Okay, so establishing user accounts. So from here, we'll go to our test site and navigate it here. So in our general functions tab, well, let me pause. Are there any questions with the types of accounts that counselors or staff can have at a school or school district? Y'all can give me a thumbs up if y'all good to go. If you know where the thumbs up button is. Susan knows where it is. That's good. All right. All right, good. T knows where it is. Excellent. All right. So from here, we're going to see our user data, but we want to submit, we call them EFAN applications. These are applications that we can submit to have people come to our school district. So say you have somebody that is starting new in September or August, and you want them to now be able to access the individuals at the data of your school, or you have a counselor that's been there for a while, they never had access, it's time to get them access. What you do is you'll hit submit EFAN application in this general functions tab, and you'll search for the person first. So I'm going to search for Duncan. There is no Duncan here. If there was a Duncan here, they would be populated right here. Let me try Smith. Is Smith down here? No Smith either, right? So there's nobody found by that name that has an account. If there was, they would populate a button here. But I'm gonna continue with Duncan. So there's no Duncan in the database. So now let's hit new user to establish this new person coming in. This might come in here. So I'm going to fill out this information for Duncan. First name, Timothy. No nicknames here, no comments here, right? And this is for Bard High School Early College, right? This is the only school that I have access to. You guys will see the school that you have access to here, right? I'm gonna hit add authorization. Now, when I hit add authorization, I gotta answer some questions about my role at this school, right? Am I a college advisor? Am I a school counselor, principal, teacher, a volunteer, right? So some schools may have local nonprofit agencies that come into the school that help students with FAFSA completion and help with that kind of stuff. You may select a local education agency or a volunteer advisor, whatever the role is for this person that we're trying to bring on. So I'm going to say school support staff. Then I'm going to enter their email. Right, I'm going to enter our communications email here. And then I'm going to enter the level of access that this person should have. Remember, as a chief authorizing official, I can authorize anybody here, but I'm going to access him. I'm going to put him as a reports only user. Reports and forms allows him to look at the forms and reports for that specific high school. Now, effective date you can use if you know somebody's coming in September and you want to get them started early in June or July, you want to get them ready. Or if there's nothing here, it's going to end up being the date that you submitted the application for. Okay. So I'm going to hit continue. And now you see that this institution is being authorized for this person. Okay. I can edit this if I want to. And if I had more, I can actually add more authorizations if I was a chief authorized official of a school district and had multiple high schools in my district. I can add additional authorizations there. So from here, I hit continue. And this is a summary of who I'm submitting an application for, who I am as an authorizing official, the institution that I'm authorizing for this person, right? And then I'm going to sign it and submit it. Up here is a green check mark that will tell us that I've actually submitted the EFAN application for Mr. Tim Duncan, the greatest power forward to ever play the game of basketball. Now, after you've done this, you may want to find this person again, right? If you want to look up the process and where they are in the application process, you'll do that through View EFAN Applications here. Right, so I have View EFAN Applications. I can actually put the applicant's last name or the applicant ID number that was in the previous screen. Hit View, and now I can see when it was submitted, okay, the status of it currently, and the application ID number. If I hit this radio button here, hit Review, I can see where it is in the process. So right now, Mr. Tim Duncan is going to get an email saying, hey, you've been added as a user here, and then they will need to set up their own account through that email, just like the chief authorizing official did earlier. Okay, are there any questions on how to add a user to your accounts? All right, no questions there. So now what? You've gotten access, you've given other people access. How do you actually get the reports that help you understand where students are in the process? You're gonna get that from here, the FAFSA tab completion tab. Okay, so you click this tab, this is gonna say select customized reports. This is the report that you're gonna be pulling. It's the FAFSA tab completion report. It is likely the only report you'll have access to in this database, okay? Now, when we do this, you're gonna hit the details button here for that report. Now you're gonna enter the parameters for the report. How are you gonna print this out? Some people like a PDF, which is just a straight up printout of what students are getting or where students are. Or if you love Excel and you love pivot tables and things like that, you can do a spreadsheet. This is your school code that is connected to your specific school. And then the academic year, you can run it for any open academic year. So currently the 25-26 academic year is open, and so it's the 26-27 academic year. For your high school seniors currently, they'll be filling out the 26-27 academic year. Now you can sort it by date submitted, you can sort it by first and last name. However you want to sort it, you're more than welcome to. I usually go first and last name. Some people like to, I don't know how you guys do it in your school district, if you do it by alphabetical order and divvy it up, or you say, I get the first 50, you get the next 50, however you want to do it to check in on students. So once you do that, you fill out the necessary areas here, you're gonna hit submit. Now it's working on the report for the school or school district. It takes a few minutes to get all the data. And here it is, okay? So this first table here this is how you read the report. So this is our school code, our academic year, and this is the completion status key. So in the report, you'll see for FAFSA completion or for TAP completion, a 1, 2, or 3. For FAFSA, that means the FAFSA is submitted but not processed through the missing signature. Now, this is a little different now because FAFSA can be submitted, but this simply means the contributor hasn't done their portion yet, right? The contributor doesn't just sign anymore. They have to do their own portion. This is what this one means. This one means, number two, means that the student has been processed and is an SAI, which means they're good to go. Three means the fastest process, but there are errors on the application. The same thing runs true for the TAP statuses. If it's a one, that means they've done the TAP application, but their parents have not signed the TAP application yet. This is different than the FAFSA because the TAP application is only a student portion, but the parents must sign at the end of the TAP application. If they've been processed and the eligibility is determined, they can do two. And if they've been processed with errors, it'll be a three. Okay. That's how they'll look. When you scroll down, you actually see the report here. So in the interest of privacy, we have not included any student names here or date of births here, right? Because then it'll be giving that student's PII. But this is how you'll see it. The last name of the student, the first name of the student, their date of birth, zip code, the school code, and then you'll see information on when they submitted the FAFSA, when they submitted the TAP application, and their current status. So if I see this, we're doing okay, right? There's a bunch of students that have filled out the FAFSA. There's a bunch of pages here. Look at all these students that have filled out the FAFSA. The school is doing great when it comes to FAFSA completion. But if you notice, there's a lot of TAP applications that are missing or haven't been submitted. A lot of TAP applications that are missing and haven't been submitted, or there's a couple that have errors on them, right? So now I'm able to divvy up. We've all done the FAFSA. That's fantastic. What about the TAP application? Let's start working on these things. This one's missing a signature page. This one has errors, right? So this allows us to better identify which students need the most assistance with their applications. So then now what do? Now that you figured out what students have filled out what application, now that you figured out what students have filled out the application or have errors, what do? I'm trying to get to my slide here. There's a couple ways you can help students in this situation. First one being one-on-one meetings. If you're one of those savvy counselors, or if you've gone through a couple of our fast ready trainings, usually the issues are pretty easy to identify because the FAFSA and TAP have plain language messaging saying you're missing parent two's social security number, you're missing financial independence documents, you've been denied because of residency. Those are pretty straight up, straightforward messages we have there. Now, we do have some resources for you guys that might help you as well. One of them being the top 5 issues that we see. So this is one where we have noticed there's about 5 issues that most students run into when completing the FAFSA or TAP application. And sometimes those errors, they don't need to call us to fix. They can just do it on their own, and some they do. So this resource helps you kind of identify what students can help themselves and what students need to come to us for some assistance. We've actually just stopped our student drop-ins. We used to have weekly drop-in sessions where students can come in and ask general questions. And we just started that on Wednesday, which is some bad news. But the great news is we stopped it because we don't need it anymore. Because now, if you guys remember, ever since COVID, HESC has been a schedule appointment agency where students have to schedule an appointment to call our call center. So if I need help today, I have to schedule an appointment for a week, maybe 2 weeks out. That is no longer. As of the 18th of last month, we are live calling, so we don't need to drop it anymore because students can now call us. You can call with a student. If you have a student that's going through some errors, as long as you have the student with you, you can call with that student. The student can get verified and authenticated, and our call center can help them navigate the issues with their TAP application. I'll put that in the chat right here. So you have that number on hand to call our call center. And then we have FAFSA events. Every month, this month we have 2 because it's Financial Aid Awareness Month, if you didn't know that. And we have professionals from across the state at the college level, at the high school level. They will come onto a Zoom call and walk your students through the entire FAFSA and the entire TAP application, screen by screen, if that's what they need. So that isn't available to them too. So if you need to refer to a student, this is what the error is. I don't know what to do. You can call us, or you can have them attend that FAFSA and tab completion event, and they can do it there. Be mindful to our call center, although we can help them with a specific issue, if they need that one-on-one full top to bottom completion, our call center doesn't do that, but the FAFSA completion events are a great place to send them. Now, as for you guys, we have some resources available for you as well. In our FAFSA Ready training program, this is what we created with all of you in mind, really. This program has 5 modules, and I'll put the link in the chat here. It has 5 modules revolving around the 5 areas of financial application completion. Our TAP application, the alternate eligibility pathways. So for those students, we talked about the DREAM Act briefly as being part of that waiver. So for students that can't fill out the FAFSA, they have to fill out the DREAM Act. We also have a new alternate eligibility application for students who may have privacy concerns about giving their spouse or parents' information to the FAFSA. So we have those informations available there. We have seminars. They're all 1 hour in length. Try to keep in mind the time frame that you guys have available to you. And you can view the seminar video anytime, right? So right now, if you go to TAP, there is a video that you can watch on the entire TAP application from start to finish and any pain points students may be facing as they navigate the TAP application. You can download the presentation as far as the PowerPoint. And then we have some resources here that might help you and help students. So you can print these off and have on hand. Students may ask about their dependency status or what's going on with my citizenship. A big one that we get is the signature pages. How do we get those? How to upload a document is huge, as well as income verification. So all these are things that you can print out. Hey, I got a message about income verification. What does that mean? Print this bad boy out, hand it to a student. This is what you need to do to verify your income for New York State, for TAP. We have these for everything, right? So we have it also for the FAFSA. Same thing, seminar video, presentation guide. We have counselor resources, pro tips, right? All the things that you'll need to help a student or things you can just give a student to help them better understand the financial aid application. You may have students that whose parents don't have a social security number, right? Whose spouse may not have a social security number. They may not know how to navigate the studentaid.gov account process. We have a form for that. What to bring, key terms. All this is here to help students navigate the FAFSA application. And we also have that for the alternate pathway and for special circumstances that students may face. And then for FAFSA completion initiative, what you did today. If you ever get to a point where like, I don't know how to run reports again, how do I do that? Click the link, it'll show you step by step how to run that report and what you can do with it. Same thing for if you have any questions about the administering of this mandate and how to report, that's all here, and how to gain access once you guys gain access. I know James said you guys are working on it. We can do that there as well. There are also some videos here and some frequently asked questions in each of the modules. All right. I'm gonna stop sharing. What questions do you guys have about FAFSA completion initiative, about the database, or about any of the other tools or resources that we just talked about? So yes, that's a great question. Um, is this meaning the resources or the training? We do have some of our principal resources in Spanish right now. We're working on doing some other ones. So Spanish is the only one we have right now. We are working on some other languages. Feel free to email me if there's languages that are specific to your student population that you would like reports in, just so we have a better idea of what we need to do for our students. But there are some available in Spanish. And then these YouTube videos, they can be subtitled into those other languages as well, if necessary as well. Great question. What other questions do you guys have? We do have other trainings too. So if you guys are interested in some of these things, like the all path or the alternate pathways or TAP or FAFSA in general, we do have some other trainings coming up this week and next week on those resources and how to do those things. So feel free to come into our live session. They're a lot of fun. People from all over the state just asking questions and bringing up some great content for everybody. So feel free to do that. I can throw that link in the chat as well to our events calendar. We can find our next training if you guys are interested. What are the questions you guys have? I know we have like 20 minutes left on the clock, but this doesn't always take that as long as some of the other ones because it's pretty pointed. There is going to be a survey after this. After this training, there should be a survey that populates right away. Please let us know how we did, or if there's any. We're working on some high school counselor specific trainings for some of these things as well. So, or resources. So if there's things that you encounter and run into that you're like, man, I wish I had some information on this or that, please feel free to put that in the survey so we have a better idea of what may help your students best, especially as we go to the 27-28 FAFSA opening on October 1st.